Hello everyone and welcome back to the Admiralty. My name's Matt and today I am back with Minecraft. Now, if you remember from the Admiralty's channel, we were doing a series, however, Realms broke and we've had some trouble waiting for it to be fixed. But here we are and we're back, and whilst Mouse rests in the cave, I thought it made sense to build it whilst she's away. Now it's going to take some time and, more importantly, lots of resources and tools. So we're going to have a go. And that's what really makes this a challenge. You know, it's having access to all the things we need to be able to build it, keeping it looking nice, and having all the space we need to actually expand and to put in the things we'll use as we explore more into the game. So, here we are, and you're going to see me float back and forth between the furnaces, chests and crafting tables regularly. My aim is to build something that's got depth. It looks good and it sets the theme for the rest of the village that Mouse and I said we were going to build. So I've worked currently on the walls outside of my old hut, just as more of a safety measure. I'm starting with stone bricks, which crafting them is taking some sweet time. I've got to smelt stone, and then obviously put them in a little 2x2, shall I say, to be able to make a stone brick. 4 pieces of stone, they don't cook quick, but it's okay, because we're making good progress so far. One of our comments the other month was suggesting that I had numerous furnaces on the go, so I've listened well, and it's certainly doing the trick. Now I've focused on having exposed, like logs on the outside, almost like a timber frame, and having them further out than the stone brick allows to create a form of depth to the build. I've used dark oak as well on the stairs that are on the inside to fit a kind of curved off edge. Breaks up that big block shape that does make Minecraft famous, but can also make it a bit of an eyesore. So my biggest issue I'm facing as well, not only am I waiting for things to cook, but as you saw, my iron axe just broke. So I'm now using a stone. It means I've got to be careful with how I place things. Although as I say that, you can see me there immediately placing the stone bricks in the wrong place. But it's okay, because at least we can fix that in a minute. I really wanted this building to be long, so that we could kind of fill it in, make different structures, but I also didn't want it too wide because I knew we were going to build different houses and parts of the village around it. This is only the starter house, and ultimately it will probably be more of a storage place than anything else. So I'm keeping with the theme so far of creating that depth, and I've tried to make it equal, with each stone brick section not being too overpowering and only 3 blocks long, the logs all intermittently placed between. I've tried to make sure each one's got a corner, and it just kind of allows a good room for decoration without making it overpowering. And the floor I wanted to be contrasting as well. I really wanted birch, which we've got plenty of and aren't likely to use much of. Now the whole idea there is it all look quite pale and clean compared to the more rustic, old and possibly kind of grubby looking exterior of the building. Kind of gives it that fresh homely feel, even though you're amongst the elements. Now as I'm waiting for more resources to be cooked, and looking to craft some more, I'm also thinking about how we can actually expand out the front. So again, it's survival, it's not easy, but the handy thing is, we have done a lot of digging, which has gave me a lot of spare dirt. Now, I didn't bin much of this kind of stuff in the lovely bin that is the lava fall over there. I actually kept it, and it's for this exact reason. Being able to fill it in and place it on the floor allows us to kind of push out a bit more. It's almost like a false island. Now, if people can do that in real life to build entire cities, I think we can do that in Minecraft, just to expand a house a tiny bit. The main point was, yes, I can build to the water, but it just doesn't quite look right. It gives a sense of security. So having smelted some sand into glass, I've made some glass panes and started filling the gap. Again, panes over blocks, because it creates that depth that I think is really important to making a nice looking build. It just gives extra texture to something that otherwise is essentially flat. So you can see me here doing the same thing with the beams once more, curving them off at the edges using dark oak stairs. the place is really starting to take shape, and we can actually start looking at expanding upwards towards the roof and building the platform out at the front. As the camera pans round, you're going to be able to see the overall goal on the outside and how it's going to start looking. So I'm finishing off the floor, getting some more resources, and we're going to start working around the outside again after I replace that wall. That's ever so annoying. Here we go. Here's the main kind of structure we're going to go for. I really wanted to build a kind of mezzanine, something that just stands out a bit, and I want to give it another curved kind of feel. I don't want it to be too direct. It would feel, again, too block-like. So I've pushed out the ground a bit with some more dirt, and I've started building shorter logs this time, only 3 blocks, and then giving them a slight curve using stairs and pushing them out just 1 block to replace the rest. It makes them slightly taller and gives a false sense of kind of elevation and slope, curve, something different. And to reinforce that concept again about it looking a bit more realistic, I've gave a reinforcement to the logs themselves with cobble and cobble stairs. Obviously it doesn't actually keep it upright, but we can pretend it does. Just helps add to the character. And in the same way, I'm now coming to the front and adding dark oak slabs between the actual pillars at the front. The ultimate aim will be to do the exact same for the roof inside. If you've ever been in a lovely rustic building, the wooden beams and the logs across, it looks amazing, right? We all love seeing the timber exposed in an old barn or house. So with that skeletal structure now mapped out, I think it's really starting to take shape, and we can start building on those bones to create a more medieval style hut. With the fence and the stone brick slabs coming in, as well as the cobblestone to give that platform, it's really getting a variety of textures, colours, and the overall kind of image. Oh, look at that, so you can see the wood beams, I think they look really nice. But the real question is, how are we going to do the roof? So, we've made some great progress so far, and the focus now is going to be expanding upwards. This is going to be tough. So normally, if I would build something medieval, whether it's been for servers or just for fun, I'm normally in creative. So to now be doing this without that feels very, I guess, difficult. I've had to go manually craft all my stairs, and I'm going to have to hang off the side of a building to try and figure out what I want. Now, my initial thought was that I quite like the idea of it curving off at the ends. It stops it standing out too much. So as I start hanging myself off the side of it, I'm trying to figure out how it might look and how best to make it kind of meet together in the middle without making it too sharp. I like the idea of it being smoothed off. It just gives it a softer feel, while still creating a slight essence of depth. So I'm currently using spruce wood, because then that way again, it's not the same as the dark oak or the birch, but it still has a dark and rustic feel to it. Now, got attacked by a zombie, as is expected in survival, but with that puff of cloud that you can see there, we're all safe, and I light up some more of a wood block, so that I'm not as likely to be killed. I noticed I made a few mistakes, but as part of a challenge, I'm going to be building and trialing and mixing up some things as I go. I really want to get this right, because we can always change it afterwards, but the end is where we're going to start building in the middle. Now, with most of the end almost done, it's time to actually start thinking about how I'm going to do the rest. So I'm going to use oak, because again, it's going to give that variety. So far, we're going to be using 4 different types of wood: dark oak, spruce, birch, and oak. The handy thing with this is it not only creates texture and differences in the image, but it's also a bit more sustainable with the things that we've got around us. We've got lots of birch, but we have more oak and even more dark oak. So the idea of being able to use dark oak as for logs is quite easy, because we're not really causing ourselves any problems. There's plenty of trees to go around. Now, as I'm hanging off the side once again, I'm trying to build a small subtle slope into the middle with oak, much like I did on the ends. And as I get further, I'm trying to leave those gaps just above the logs, because in that way I can put another line of spruce. It'll kind of break up that block colour, again add to that rustic feel, and make it look a bit more medieval. The only challenge is not being able to fly or float. It's quite hard to get this right, and even more so, making stairs costs a lot of resources. So I also need to be careful not to build the roof too high, and even if I had a more bigger ambition to start with, I probably wouldn't have the resources to do it. So I'm trying to keep the roof low, and anything I might be missing is always something I can find another time. It's not permanent, it's just something that would be ideal to, leave open to change, but still does the job now. I'm working on putting the oak slabs across the middle, although as you can see I'm regularly falling down the gap and not always managing to find the ladder that easy. It's getting really fiddly, but we've made good progress, and as it's coming towards daytime, I think by the next night we'll be all set. Now, having placed all those stairs, I can really start working on those gaps in between. I'll start worrying about the spruce in just a moment. The ultimate aim is to create, once again, that level of depth on the roof as well, just to separate it from the rest of the building. Now, at this point, I had actually run out of oak. There are a few small oak trees nearby for me to go gather. And you can see me going to chop one down in the distance and coming back with the resources I needed. So as I craft them into planks and then stairs and slabs, I can actually get back to what I was doing. I need to fill the gap with the planks themselves, and then I'm going to figure out a way to expand again the spruce just to give it a slightly different feel. By putting planks in these gaps, it elevates it just a half block, giving it more of a supportive looking purpose. Now, back to crafting again, and back up the ladder, I can carry on by trying to fill those gaps. Thankfully, we had quite a bit of spruce. What will happen next after I've done the roof is actually looking at exploring more with Mouse and also building her home. We do need to build a funeral place for Sid the parrot. If you haven't seen that episode, please check it out. Oh, rest in peace, Sid. But in the meantime, we can come back to his death and his funeral where we're in a safer place to mourn him. We need to think about places for animals, storing food, and also all the minerals are placed to mine as well. However, that is going to be something I do with Mouse in our normal recordings. So as you see me hopping up and down in the middle of the house, you can see me really experimenting with how to bring the spruce out of the oak. That centerpiece currently has 3 extra slabs just to raise it above the rest, although I might end up changing that soon and adding it to the others as well. I wanted the roofs to still be symmetrical, so I needed to make sure that it was the same length, and there weren't any discrepancies. Now, having looked from the outside, I think it could use the extra flare out to the side, although maybe not a plank, maybe it's something I can decorate separately with fences or something, just to give an essence of old and worn. But I also need to work on the end, because I've realised if I put that on the other side, it's actually going to be too short, and it's going to encase that platform a bit awkwardly. So as I finish off the sides, I jump back on the roof and start to work on the end once more. Now hopefully this time, I'm going to get it right and save some durability on my axe. I'm going to need it. Now as I start to curve it off properly, I realise it is going to start matching the other areas. So to keep it different, I'm going to have to consider keeping it flat and making those 3 taller, like I thought. So as I've crafted more stairs, I'm back to finishing it off. And now, there you go. We've got most of our roof. Placing those slabs really worked, and I think it looks far more realistic, or as can be, in a game about blocks. Now, I'm aware there's a bit of exposure here and that it doesn't look too tidy, but we don't have all the resources we actually need, and that's okay. So that's something we can come back to another time. Now, as we finish up, remember to check out our other Minecraft videos. Keep an eye out for the next episode with Mouse. And if you enjoyed this kind of content, remember to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos, whether it's on my channel or the main. But as we pan in and I finish the build, you see overall we've built this rustic, medieval looking hut that I'm going to be able to now use in survival. We built it purely from survival resources and for survival purposes. So as I've placed chests and a barrel on a shelf above us, it now feels a bit more like home. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, see ya.